is definitely me. So don't worry about it. Just do what you normally do.
Yep.
I don't see it.
No, it
It's
hasn't
it's
come on.
still
It's
it's
still
still
going.
working,
Yeah,
Julie, on
now it
my
just.
end.
Yeah, now I saw it. It should be going now. I see it came up.
There's a time lag on my end, Julie.
I got it.
We should be good. All right, we are good. Share to Spring Nuts. Post. Julie, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank God.
Okay, see it live there. That's good.
All right, we're sharing to Spring Nut Cafe,
Yep,
and we should be good.
yep. I see the people rolling in now. Yep,
Yep.
Yep,
yep. We're good.
yep.
Oh, I hear an echo. Gotta shut the
Yeah,
door.
I'm just gonna go to this bit. I see the people rolling in now. Yep,
Yep.
yep. We're good. Okay, good. I got that off. We're good. Yep,
All right, Howie, then we're good.
okay.
We are good.
All right, so we want to welcome everybody to another edition of the Spring Nut Cafe podcast with Ryan Hilligoss and my beautiful wife Jules at the helm. Stan is not here today, unfortunately. He had knee surgery and knee replacement surgery. He's doing well. We checked in with him, but he's not able to join with us today. But we do have. We're gonna be house rocking tonight, people. Okay, we got to keep upping our game every night. We got to up our game, and who's better to up that game than the legendary and what a sweetheart of a guy. And we all know him because we've all interacted with him over the years. The great and legendary Joe Grushecky.
Woo! Welcome.
That's a heck of an intro there, Howie.
Yeah, if you ever need me, I'm always available. I come cheap, but you definitely well deserved. So we're gonna
I'm
hand
glad
it
to be
over.
here.
The pleasure and the honor is all ours. Obviously, Ryan is at the helm at this, so I'm gonna give it and hand it over to Ryan.
Joe, great to meet you. I've seen you many times at Light of Day and other places, but I've never met you before, so it's a great pleasure to have you on here. It's an
Okay.
honor to have you on here. Um, for those of you that don't know Joe, and hopefully most of you watching, we are a Bruce centric group here, obviously. But there's some people that may not know you, so if you could share with us a little bit of your background, that would be great.
Well, let's see. I put out my first record in 1979 with the Iron City House Rockers. We were on Cleveland International. Steve Popovich. Um, we sort of had a Jersey Shore connection right off the bat because Steve was very significant in Southside Johnny's career, and he was very, very tight with Steve Van Zandt. In fact, we got our record deal. We saw that he put out an ad in Billboard for "Say Goodbye to Hollywood," the Ronnie Spector single, and we had been making demos, and Art Nardini and I were the founding members of the House Rockers, and we were determined to get a record deal. And we had been recording in little studios around Pittsburgh, working on original materials, and we sent a demo tape to Steve Popovich, who was in Cleveland, and Steve invited us up, and we met with Steve, and eventually signed a record deal with Steve, and he put out our first record. Second record was called "Have a Good Time and Get Out Alive." First record was "Love So Tough." Second record we did was Mick Ronson, Ian Hunter, and Steve Van Zandt also worked on it, uncredited at the time. And third record was Steve Cropper. So like,
Wow.
got to work with all these really great guys. Fourth record we sort of imploded. We got dropped like almost 2 days after it came out, MCA, and took a while to regroup. And came back with Joe Grushecky and the House Rockers. Dropped the Iron City moniker, just because too many people had a piece of the name, and I just want to avoid any entanglements, as they say. And so we put our first record out in '88 with that band. We had a 4-year hiatus. We got signed to Rounder 86, 87. And then in '95, we put American Babylon out. And that was sort of the resurgence of our career, because we were sort of just withering away. I don't want to say we weren't completely dead, but we were sort of stuck. We just weren't getting anywhere, because our City House Rockers were tremendously acclaimed by the critics, but we didn't sell too many records. And with Bruce got involved. He gave us a new lease on life, and we started putting out all our own records after that, and which brings us up to the current day. We're still plugging away at it.
Yeah, Steve Popovich, the story I always remember that Stevie tells about in his book, and I've heard him talk about on the radio, was during the lawsuit period. They were kind of skating on thin ice, and some of the band wanted to split, and Stevie had a meeting with them and said, "Hey, just give me a week. I can pull something together." And he reached out to Popovich, and he got the band to play on the Ronnie records, and that kind of held them together for
Yeah.
that little period. If it hadn't been for that, we may be in a totally different place right now.
I'll say, Steve was he is actually from Pittsburgh, and he was Pittsburgh had this really unique music scene going on, which revolved around AM radio. All these little towns had AM stations, and on Friday night, around 6 or 7 o'clock on Friday night, they would play this really obscure rock and roll. I mean, no top 40, nothing that you guys probably are even familiar with. Just all obscure stuff, and it would go to Sunday night at midnight, because Pennsylvania had the blue laws, so at midnight you couldn't, no rock and roll past midnight on Saturday. It would stop, boom, dead. But Steve had played on this record called Mamalucci by Lee Diamond. He was the bass player on it. And when I met up with Steve, we were talking music, and he said, "Did you ever hear Mamalucci?" I said, "Oh yeah, I know Mamalucci. I used to play the song." And so whoa. So I think that that endeared us to him right away, because we were certain. I don't think Jeff Beck or Ted Nugent or any other guys he signed knew Mamalucci, but we did for some odd reason. So that got us through the front doors. I like to think somehow with Steve, and that he was just in the whole regional thing, a South Side, where you guys were doing it at the shore. And he gave us we were going to call ourselves the House Rockers. And, I heard Steve Van Zandt and Steve both christened us the Iron City House Rockers. At that point, we were just glad to have a record deal. I don't think we cared too much what anybody called us, but just so we can make records. But we came up with the House Rockers, and the two Steves come up with the Iron City thing. And it worked, because we were very big regionally here in the tri-state area. We played from Pittsburgh to Cleveland to Detroit, Chicago, up to New York City and Boston, down to DC. We never made it in the South, never played in the South, but so it was a great experience. It was sort of a dream come true, making a record. That's what our goal was. So we were able to accomplish it. And then all these years later, I got to work with all these great people, Mick Ronson, Steve Van Zandt, Ian Hunter, Steve Cropper, Bruce. It's been a really wild ride considering, we started out in my basement and we didn't even know anybody that worked in a record store at the time.
So going back prior to your career, when you were growing up, you from Pittsburgh, obviously.
Yeah.
Did you have a musical household? How did you get into music as a child?
Well, my dad played everything. The house was full of instruments. He could play everything from clarinet to accordion to mandolin to fiddle to bass. He had a couple of guitars laying around.
So is he from a musical family? Like this is a generational thing?
Well, I didn't know his side of the family, but my father played. Apparently, my grandfather was a very good violinist. He passed away before I was born, but and my mother had a really good voice. She was a singer. They played a lot of ethnic music. They call it tamburitzin music here in Western Pennsylvania. And my dad, he liked the old country Western stuff like Jimmy Rogers and Hank Williams. So he actually had a band called the Happy Serenaders that played live on a radio in Greensburg, Pennsylvania. I actually have when he passed away, I was going through his stuff and I found a set list of the songs that they played.
Oh wow!
His two big songs that he sang were "Buffalo Girl," "Buffalo Gale," "Ain't You Come Out Tonight," and
"Come Out Tonight."
T for Texas, T for Tennessee, the old Jimmy Rogers song.
Yep.
That's his two solo spots. And he played guitar, bass, and fiddle in that band. And then in World War II, after the war, he was stationed in Paris for a while. He played in a saxophone in a swing band over there. So
I got a question. So just how could you even think that Johnny would not get those genes when everyone in your family has some kind of musical? Johnny is destined to become.
Yeah, Johnny came out playing. I'll tell you that. He wanted to play with the band since he could walk.
I believe. How can he not? Your father, your aunt, your uncle, your mother, everybody's got something.
In fact, in '95, Johnny was like, I don't know what was he, 7, 8 years old. We were practicing with Bruce at the Pony for the American Babylon. They called it the October Assault, and we took a break, and Johnny was hanging with us, and he got up and started playing drums on something, and Bruce come back in, and Bruce plugged in, and he started playing guitar. And all of a sudden he stops and turns around and looks, and there's this little kid this high on the drums, and so yeah, and the first time, then Johnny switched over to guitar and bought him a guitar for Christmas. And not too long afterward, a couple months afterward, Bruce was playing at our arena here, and he asked us, Johnny and I, to play with him, and Johnny had just picked up a guitar and it wanted to play Glory Days, and I said, Johnny, you can play that one. I said, and he said, oh, I don't know, Dad, I don't know if I can play that. I said, yeah, you can do it. So I taught it to him on break, and I said, well, if you get mixed up with the chords, just turn your volume down. I said, they probably won't have us in the mix anyway.
I do that all the time. I don't even plug my guitar in, to be honest with you.
Just pretend you're playing. So we got up there, and he looked like he saw a ghost because you walk out, you see all those people, and then about 30 seconds into it, he was over there, playing a song like he played it his whole life. So yeah.
It's so
Well,
cool.
I actually remember that show and in Pittsburgh, and there's a video of that of you and Johnny coming up playing Glory Days. With
Yeah.
on there. That's he looked like he was just fine when he was up
Yeah, it was. So
there.
yeah, so he's one of those guys. You put him in front of an audience and he elevates his
Well,
game.
Well, Johnny, I'm just gonna put it out there and take over, Ryan. I'm sorry, but Johnny, I know you're watching. I saw you come on. So, Johnny, we're gonna be coming for you next. We're gonna be sending you that invite to join us at the on the cafe and tell your story. So start preparing. All right. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ryan.
No, you're good. So Joe, just to go back, so your dad, your mom, both musical instruments all over the house. Did your dad sit you down and teach you stuff? Did you just pick it up on your own? What was your
Well, the big thing for me was the Beatles. I would bang around on the guitar a little bit, then try to play sax and clarinet and whatever was laying around. I didn't really take it too seriously, though I love music. And we were always singing around the house. My mom and dad used to sing constantly, and I used to sing all the old soul and doo-wop classics. But boy, when the Beatles hit, I had to have a guitar. So I was lucky I had one in the house, but I saved up my nickels and dimes doing odd jobs, and I was a paper boy and bought a guitar at Sears Roebuck. It was a silver tone guitar, and the selling point was it had a little amplifier built right into the case. So I was ready to go, and I just played and played and played and played until I was good enough to play out. I wanted to get out in front of people as fast as I can, and I think my first gig was at a fire hall, and I sang Gloria and Wooly Bully.
Hmm.
Great.
So,
Classics.
What did you do? Did you meet other kids from school in
yeah,
your
everybody,
neighborhood?
everybody in my neighborhood, all of a sudden lost interest in baseball, and started, baseball bats and gloves went in the cupboard, and everybody was playing instruments.
Hmm.
So there was a healthy a scene in those days around town. There was a church we could play about once every 6 weeks with whatever guys we got together, and there's a lot of little dances and private things. There's even an event called a swance. You guys have swances where you're at?
Never heard that term.
A swance was a dance at a swimming pool.
Oh, wow.
Swans.
Swans.
Wow.
So we did those, and graduated to the bars pretty quickly. So we were playing. I was going at it pretty good till I went to college. First couple years of college was my father really. He was a coal miner. He had to drop out of school when he's after sixth grade to work in the coal mines. So education had a high priority in my house. So I fulfilled my parents' dreams by going to college. Left to my own devices, I would have never went, but
What'd you major in?
Yeah.
I started out as a political science major and ended up as a special education teacher.
Hmm.
I got a federal scholarship, one of the first federal scholarships that were passed out to study special ed.
So you go to school, you get your degree, you're doing special ed. So talk to us about the combination of, trying to be a teacher and trying to live your life and still being in the music side of it.
Well, I had a band in college, and we had an audition with RCA. We're sort of, we're influenced by all the heavy guitar rock, Hendrix and Cream and, all those bands. And after I graduated, I did the best I could to not work a steady job and try to play. Until finally I was busted. I needed some money, so I took a job working in a this terminology is kind of primitive, but it was an institute for the mentally retarded, and I had total care kids that nobody could walk. One kid could walk, one kid could talk, and for some reason they were in groups of eights. So I started out, I had 16 kids.
Wow.
Everybody was in diapers. And it was sort of the end of the line for special ed. The older people who were there didn't want to be there because it was a unique job. When we first started, we were the first wave in, and I can remember pulling up in my car, and you could actually smell the place. There were these units. You could smell it before you walked in. And I used to come home at night and strip down and throw all my clothes in a basket so I wouldn't have that smell on me.
Wow.
But after I was there for a week, I realized I had a little power, and I told the nurses, well, when I come in here on Monday morning, I want all the kids dressed. So I guess they were just waiting for somebody to tell them something like that. So, so the first 2.5 years I worked in special ed, I did a lot of self-help, toilet training, feeding, teaching them to eat themselves, and there were no rules. So basically do whatever I wanted to do. And the kids, parents would never come there. They were abandoned. And I used to throw as many as I could get in my car and take them home for the holidays, just for the day. And I obviously couldn't sleep there. But and at the same time, I was using that money that I was getting to finance recording sessions. And Art Nardini and I got a band together, which eventually morphed into the Iron City House Rockers, which was Ned Rankin, Mark Reisman, Gary Scalise, and it was replaced by Eddie Britt, Bill Snyder, Art, and myself. We became the House Rockers. So, I financed my musical career through special ed.
So you're teaching during the week and you're doing gigs on weekends?
Yeah, until I got a record deal, then I quit immediately.
Can't blame
not,
you.
Not that I didn't like the job. I just, I thought, well, I'm never going to get this chance again. I was in my mid-20s, and I thought, it's now or never. So I threw everything I had. We signed a record deal with Cleveland in August. I was supposed to start work in a couple of weeks, and I resigned. We always started, around Labor Day. So I resigned my position. Probably should have kept it for a while until, the money started getting a little bit better from the gigs. But, we were determined to make a really good record. And so we rehearsed constantly. I had a house in Mount Washington section of Pittsburgh, and we just rehearsed constantly until we finally realized we were never going to get out of my basement unless we started playing somewhere. We went out, and Pittsburgh was still going under music union rules. So you had to play 4 sets a night. And, we went out a couple times, and we were like the world's worst cover band. I mean, we stunk. We were terrible. So we found this place that I guess wasn't doing too well, and he let us do anything we wanted to do. We went in, and we're doing mostly originals and like real obscure rock and roll or stuff that wasn't popular, and old stuff like John Lee Hooker and the Animals and the Stones and Lou Reed, all that kind of stuff. And we eventually caught on there and had a pretty big crowd. And Popovich came there and he saw us play live too. So that helped us get a record deal. And that place closed, and we moved over to this place called The Decade over in Oakland, which was like our Stone Pony.
Mm.
And then the whole Pittsburgh music scene sort of exploded around us in that club for 4 or 5 years. It was really hopping.
Talked about, listening to your parents play, your dad's playing. Western Pennsylvania, you get a mix of country, maybe some bluegrass stuff in there. You're getting rock and roll on the radio. Like, what kind of influences do you think you remember from that time?
Well, we had these teen nightclubs, and you would go on the weekend, and there were 400 or 500 kids in these clubs. There was two real big ones in my areas: the Red Rooster and the White Elephant. I don't know why they had an animal.
Red Rooster and the White
Elephant,
White Elephant. Red Rooster and White Elephant. Okay.
And they would play. You would not hear top 40 there. You would hear stuff like, what Bullfight is by Chuck Edwards?
I know that song.
Mm-mm.
That song. How about High Time Baby by Spencer Davis Group?
Don't know that one.
Well, that's what they would play. They wouldn't play Give Me Some Lovin'. They would play the flip side of Keep On Running. It's called High Time Baby. John Hammond, Come Back Baby, I Wish You Would. Nothing top 40 that you would hear on a commercial radio, but it was all these songs that these little AM stations. There was tons of them, 10 or 12 of them around Pittsburgh. They would just try to obscure each other. And then at some point during the night, you would have a band play. And some weekends it was just a local band, and they were really good bands. But other weekends you went through everything from Sam to Sham and the Pharaohs to Mitch Riders and Detroit Wheels, Sam and Dave, Junior Walker and the All Stars, Wilson Pickett, Bo Diddley. We saw Bo Diddley a ton of times.
Wow.
So even saw Simon and Garfunkel promoting Sounds of Silence, and Paul was playing electric guitar.
Wow.
And they got booed off stage actually because they weren't dirty enough for these in these clubs.
Wow.
So, yeah, so I would go there and just try to soak up as much as I could and watch what the guitar players were doing and listen to how the band was playing, and so it was just trying to soak it all up.
Well, obviously it worked. So as you're talking about being from Pittsburgh, your background, we all know another guy that sounds very similar in background and kind of where he grew up and all that kind of stuff. Most of us know obviously about American Babylon. When did you first meet Bruce? How did you meet Bruce? Like, what was that relationship like?
Well, Steve Van Zandt worked on American Babylon with us. No, I'm sorry. Have a Good Time to Get Out Alive. Geez, I jumped ahead 15 years. In 1980. And, he's very influential in my songwriting progress. Because I was just starting out. I write an occasional really good song that I would think was good, or come up with a good lyric. I went without a television for 20 years, so I used to read a lot. So, and I was very into literature and authors. So, I try to always take that love and transfer it to my writing. But some songs, I didn't put the time in like the other songs. And one time we were working on Have a Good Time to Get Out Alive, and Steve was going through my lyrics, and he said, "Why are these songs so good here and these not so good?" And I said, "Well, they're just like throwaway rock and roll songs." And he said, "No, no, no." He said, "Nothing's a throwaway." He said, "You got to work as hard on, the simple songs as you do them, the ones you think are better." Um, so we worked closely for a couple of weeks on Have a Good Time to Get Out Alive, and during that process, Mick Ronson, who was the designated producer of the record, was working on a new Meatloaf record at the power station, and so he invited me down to hang out at a session for Meatloaf. At the East Streeters were in the next room working on the river. So I walked into the power station and ran into Steve Van Zandt, and Steve introduced me to Bruce, and he had told us that he had thought that Bruce would really like our music. So we met, and then when he came to Pittsburgh, we'd go see him play and hang out backstage, and then when the Iron City House Rockers played in the Big Man's in Red Bank, he came and sat in with us one night, and then we went and hung out and developed our friendship. And I would go see him play, and we'd talk and hang out, just casually. But my wife Leanne suggested that maybe I ask him to help us out on a new record, maybe play a song or something. And I called up John Landau, and John put me in touch with Bruce. Bruce called us and invited us out to Los Angeles to work on what became American Babylon.
Wow.
And then once we started working together, we became really good friends. A lot of similarities. I was playing a lot of the same songs in Pittsburgh that he was. I knew all the bands that he liked. He knew all the bands I liked. Working class background, so it was a easy friendship to establish.
I listened to an interview you did, and it sounds like you had the lyrics. You're really good at lyrics.
Yeah.
Bruce prefers the no.
Well,
There was a
Bruce is really
combination
good
there.
at it. Well, when we did American Babylon, we did a couple songs, and he said, "Do you have anything else?" So I played him 5, 6, 7 songs I had, and he said, "Oh man, these aren't very good," and they weren't. They weren't very good. And he said, "You got to do some better writing than this." He said, "I know you can do it." So we did a couple sessions together, and I was determined to write some better songs. So I come up with the lyrics to Homestead. And when we were finished with one session, I gave Bruce the lyrics to it. And it's kind of a funny story. Johnny's probably saying, "Don't tell this story because it's so long."
We got the time.
The floor is yours.
I was working at the school. And again, the misnomer, they call it emotionally maladjusted students. Those kids were kind of violent. We were licensed to restrain. And I was working at the school, and it's one of these schools that was sort of off the grid. It wasn't a public school. They called it a private school, but it was underfunded. The facility was shit. It was just terrible. But so I took some time off without pay to work with Bruce, and for some reason, the guy who ran the place had an issue. I don't know why, but I was told that if I worked with Bruce again, I was going to get fired if I missed work. So I have no idea why. So I gave Bruce a set of lyrics for Homestead, and never thinking I would get a call a couple of days later and say, "Hey, Joe, we got to go record this." And I said, "Well, when do you want to do it?" Hoping they'd say a weekend, And he said, "Well, Tuesday." So now I have to call up and lie and tell them I'm taking sick days because I don't want to get fired. So we flied up to Bruce, and we're working on his song, and this before cell phone days, and Patty comes in and hands me the phone and said, "It's your mom." And right away, Leanne, my wife, was with me. My parents were watching the kids. You think the worst, something happened bad at home. And I got on the phone, and my mom says, "Joey," he said, "work just called. Your boss just called, and they said they don't call them in 15 minutes, you're fired." I said, "Wow." So I had to tell Bruce to be quiet for a couple of minutes. I called work, and I had the guy like lit into me right off the bat. He said, "You're not working with Bruce Springsteen, are you?" I said, "No." I said, "Why don't you answer the phone?" I said, "I'm sick. I'm so sick, and my parents are watching the kids." So he says, "Okay, well, don't come back unless you have a doctor's excuse." I said, "No problem." So anyway, so later that day, Bruce and I went up and recorded Homestead. That was the beginning of our writing career together.
Wow. You're not recording with Bruce Springsteen, are you? No, of course not. Bruce, be quiet.
It was a Bruce specific.
Really, I mean, that's a true story. Is it?
Wow.
I never did find out why the guy, had such a problem with that. Because you couldn't. I mean, people would not show up for work constantly, And
right.
One thing I have or did have was a good work ethic. I would, after I got a little bit older, I showed up for work all the time. When I was younger, I'd quit at a heartbeat. But when I got older, I showed up for work every day. I could never figure out what was going on with the guy. And then when American Babylon finally came out, I asked for a leave of absence, and he said no. So then,
wow,
out the door I went.
Wow.
Made the right choice.
Well, American Babylon's fantastic album. Just the whole roster of Chain Smoking, Never Be Enough Time is one of the highlights for me.
Yeah.
Anytime I'm at Light of Day and you play that, Never Be Enough Time, American Babylon, Labor of Love, like the whole album is just fantastic.
Yeah, we did a reissue a couple years ago, and we put the live CD in there from Bruce went out and played with us, and there's some killer versions of those songs on the live disc, and Bruce taught us Light of Day, because we went out and did like 6-7 days for American Babylon, and I said, "Well, we got to play some Bruce Springsteen songs." So I was trying to get him to let me record Murder Incorporated for American Babylon, but he didn't give it up.
Yeah.
So we recorded a live version of American Babylon and a live version of I'm not American Babylon. I'm sorry.
I'm Not Sleeping.
Murder Incorporated and Light of Days on I don't think we released. No, we didn't. We did not release Murder Incorporated, but we have a killer version of Light of Day on American Babylon reissue.
Yeah, well, one of the things I'll say is that, and it's a joke between me and Jules, is that it's the show that got away from me, but didn't get away from her. But she didn't exactly tell me about it either. We were dating at the time, but anyway, it was that show you guys, so you were playing the Wonder Bar, and
July 18th.
Yeah, that's
2015.
and like the greatest show that ever did the Wonder Bar, and then Bruce plays for like 4 hours with you guys. It's incredible.
Yeah, that was a wild one.
It's the one that got away from
That
me.
was a lot of fun.
The whole night was great. Billy Walton opened up, right?
Did Billy? I can't remember who opened up for that night. I'm probably so concentrating on making sure I remembered all the Bruce songs we were doing.
Right. As
We
Kevin
played quite a
Joel was
few.
lining up all the guitars.
Yeah, as I remember correctly, we played quite a few of his songs that night.
Oh my God, you played you
It
basically
was a
put
few
on
hours. Yeah.
it was hours of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
my God. It was yeah, definitely if I have any show that ever got away from me, that's the one. That's the one I tell Julie we can't talk
But that
about.
was a good one.
It was a sweating hot night
Oh
in
my
that
God.
bar.
Did you get another person in the place? I don't think so, right?
No.
Yeah, it was great.
What a night.
Hot and sweaty and stinky and everything you love.
And happy to be there.
Yep, that was one hell of a night.
You guys were smoking hot that night. It was so good.
Yeah, it was
Sorry,
a good one.
Hal.
That's okay. That's okay. We all have our ones that we can't be at every wedding, right?
Joe, before the comment goes away, we got a comment from our friend Carrie Walton who says, "My daughter has special needs with violent tendencies. I am so grateful and thankful for people like you." So God bless you and everybody else out there
Thank
that
you.
does the hard work.
I'll tell you what, teachers aren't paid enough, and they aren't treated with the respect that they should be treated with. It. I mean, it's a very, very tough position to be in this day and age because yeah, there's so much government interference. You got to do what the man tells you to do, and a lot of the parents are difficult, and there's so many rules and regulations, and so much useless paperwork, and the first thing that the people who get blamed for, at least where I was working, was always the teachers, but a special ed teacher, that's a different breed of teacher, so you got to have a lot of love in your heart to do that.
My dad taught off and on for 40 years and coached, and I was very close to being a teacher myself. So I come from it. It's not an easy job. It's
No,
not
not an easy
at all.
job. I sort of floated into it. I didn't set out to be a teacher, but I got a federal scholarship to paid for school, so miraculously, because I was not a good student. I just didn't care about it, and so anyway, I was glad to have it. I mean, my career's been up, down, up, down, up, down, and one thing about having a day gigs, I never had to do anything that I didn't want to do musically. If I thought it was something that I couldn't live with. After I started working full time teaching, I just wouldn't do it, because I just figure, well, I got other income coming in. I don't have to, do things that I don't want to do just to pay the bills. So, and plus, I really liked, I really enjoyed working with the kids back in the old days when there weren't so many rules and regulations, when you could actually, do what you felt was necessary and to help the kid, So now it's, you're sort of bound by what you're told to do.
I think Stevie said it, best, and that's why I mean one of the charities that Springnuts supports all the time is Teach Rock, because we have a lot of teachers in our group, and we definitely have an appreciation for it. But I think Stevie says it best when he says, what Teach Rock tries to do is to teach kids how to think and not what to think.
Oh yeah.
And that's so important, especially these days. Absolutely. And I think teachers are absolutely underappreciated and underpaid.
It's a
Joe,
tough gig.
Joe, I wanted to ask you one question, then we'll get into Light of Day, and I got a clip I want to play for Talking to the King. You said you're a literature guy. Favorite authors? What do you read, or what did you
Uh,
read?
my two favorites were Steinbeck and Hemingway. But I was sort of a guy, I'd read whatever I could. I tried to read a lot of the classics. I actually read War and Peace one time over Christmas break.
Holy cow!
'Cause I didn't have television. I would keep myself, that was my entertainment.
Do you think they affected your songwriting? I
Oh
mean, they
yeah.
almost have to subconsciously, if nothing else.
Uh yeah, I enjoy things that are well written. I try to, going back to the lesson that Steve Van Zandt taught me is that I try to make every word count when I write something. You know, I must be doing something right. Bruce uses my words, right?
Well, I was gonna say one thing, and I don't mean to interrupt you,
No,
Ryan.
good. Go ahead.
The, one of the things I remember back in 2099, during the reunion tour, and we were going to all these bunch of shows with Bruce and whatever. And I remember one of the shows that I went to, he opened up with Another Thin Line, and
Right.
I was like, and it was the first time any of us have heard it, and he mentioned that he would play it or whatever, but Another Thin Line and Code of Silence were two new songs that he brought out during that tour, and he
Right.
mentioned that that was something that you guys collaborated on, right?
Correct. Yep.
I
And
mean, right.
I'm Not Sleeping also was from that same era, which
I love that.
no, I'll take that back. I'm Not Sleeping was another session, but
So I know those, like, from the tracks two that he just released. So I knew Code of Silence and Another Thin Line, which I loved back in 2000, and then I'm Not Sleeping. I loved when you guys were doing it, but I had no idea, that Bruce was going to record it. And then there was Idiot's Delight, which is
right.
fantastic. I love that song too. And there was one more, right? There was one more on the tracks that three that was also that one of
Because
yours.
I'm Not Sleeping on tracks three. There's I'm Not Sleeping. Uh,
Idiot's Delight.
It's the Light and Another Thin Line.
On Another Thin Line. Okay, got right. Okay, so those were okay, and then Code of Silence. So those, well, I mean, so those are the ones you worked on together, right? Is that
Right.
how? So you,
And a couple. Well, um, I believe that one of the times I did E Street Radio DJ,
mhm.
I think I played Homestead.
A Homestead. Okay, right.
There's a version of him doing Homestead out there, which is terrific, and he has a really good studio version of Another Thin Line. No, Code of Silence. I'm sorry, Code of Silence.
Yeah, the Code of Silence is a great version, but
Well, he released a live
right,
version,
right, yeah.
but he has a smoking version of it in a can somewhere that
Oh,
hopefully
really?
one day he'll release it. Yeah, I mean it's great. It has some of the best guitar work on it that I've heard him
I
do.
gotta tell you, the Light of Day. I know my favorite was, like, it's always great to see you guys perform together, but I know, speaking for a lot of people, because we didn't think we'd ever see this song played live. To see you guys do "I'm Not Sleeping" together was fantastic.
Thanks. Yeah,
Fantastic. Go
we
ahead.
always said that should have been a hit. A hit no
Oh
matter
no, it
who
would
it
have.
was.
It's a great song.
Hmm.
Great song. Go ahead, Ryan.
Joe, one
My
of your.
dad always
Oh,
used to
sorry.
say that. That's where that came from. I'm sure everybody's parents.
Yeah.
Mother used to say, "John, open your eyes. You're sleeping." And you go, "Oh, I'm not sleeping. I'm just
I
resting."
say I say it to my boss all the time, but now I'm singing it to him. But he's not getting the reference. But when he sees me, I'm like, I'm singing it, but he's not getting it. But I said it even today.
So, Joe, one of your favorite songs of mine is 1945
Yeah.
off of your Coming Home album. My grandfather served in my fraternal grandfather served in World War II in the Marines. So this like has a very personal connection for me because it just tells a story, that you could be telling of a million guys that served during World War II or at any point in time, but just so great as far as the storytelling is concerned. If you don't mind me reading this, one verse. He got wounded south of Paris in the summer of 1944. They patched him up in England, sent him back to the war. He remembers the day it ended. He can't recall the place. He took her picture from his helmet, just stared into her face. Just knowing she was waiting helped him to survive, and when he came close to dying, helped him stay alive. Now he's coming home. It's 1945. That is fantastic writing to
Thank
begin
you.
with. But that is not that's basically your dad and mom's
Well,
story. Is that correct?
yeah. Let's see what year would have been. What
That came off
19,
of 1997.
87. So it had been geez, right after American Babylon, 97. So I guess 95 is 50-year anniversary of VE Day, Victory in Europe, and my father and mother met during World War II. In fact, we are a Gold Star family. My namesake Joe was killed in World War II. My mother's brother, and so I was teaching these kind of difficult kids in this one school that I talked about before, and I was trying to get them interested in this school. When I taught in this school, I was on duty from the time I walked in to the time I left. Kids had to go to the bathroom. I had to escort them to the bathroom. I had to take them to lunch. I had no lunch break. We never left anybody alone because the kids were little wild. And I had the older kids. I had a group of kids that were I had like I don't know, 15 kids. I had 15 different probation officers. They were all adjudicated. So I was trying to get them interested in World War II. I guess BE Day hit in May, and I'm trying to teach history. And by doing that, I thought, I should call my mom and dad and try to get more of a background on their story, so I could tell my own kids. And so I called, and first my dad got on the phone. It was like pulling teeth. He's old school World War II guy. He didn't want to talk about anything. And so my mom, got most of the story out of my mom, and it's literally probably the most truest story I've ever written as a song. Literally, every word in it is what happened to them. And I have a co-write with Bruce on that because I couldn't come up with a chorus, and he came up with the music for the chorus on it. So and at the end, we put in a swing band. We didn't want to play "In the Mood" by Glenn Miller because we would have had to pay for sampling, but we tried to come up with something close to it. Just because that was their music. That was the World War II generation's music. It was swing music, big band. And it's one of my favorite songs that I've written. I think it's one of my best.
For anybody out there watching, check out Joe's album Coming Home
Coming Home
in 1945. All right. I want to play a little bit of Talking to the King, if that's okay with you, Joe.
Go ahead.
All right, here we go. We're going to try this out, see if it works. I want to share my screen. Share a screen, share a sound. Yes. Here we go. So being a huge,
Woo!
like Bruce is my guy, but like Elvis is up here on a lot of different levels.
Oh, yeah,
People
Elvis is
get tired of
Elvis,
hearing
man.
me saying this, but so what's the inspiration for that song?
It was a dream. I
Literally, that's
dreamt,
what you're talking about. You talking to
yeah,
the
I
dream.
dreamt one night that, I heard somebody. It was one of those dreams that, that you wake up and think, that really happened?
Wow.
And I heard somebody making noise downstairs. And I walked downstairs, and there was Elvis going through my refrigerator looking for something to eat. And uh, so I just wrote the song based on a dream I had about it. It was one of those vivid things. I thought, man, what a dream. And
Wow.
it seemed so real. So, and who wouldn't want to play guitar with Elvis, right?
Had you been thinking about Elvis? Had you played some Elvis songs around that time, or did it just totally
Probably.
come out of nowhere?
Yeah. I mean, when we were playing the bars, when there were more bars to play and we played them a lot, we always played a couple Elvis songs. So
I gotta tell you, when you
we
said it
do.
was a dream, I thought it was like a dream to play. I didn't know you really had a dream when you wrote the song. Wow, my dreams are never like that.
Joe was taking the good stuff that night.
Yeah, we got the shot glass. That's great.
Well, thank you for that. That's one of my favorite songs, so thank you for that. So when it comes to playing with Bruce at Light of Day, I mean, this last year was phenomenal. Nobody was expecting 15 songs or whatever it was he played, but every year you close the show, you close Light of Day. How long have you been involved with Light of Day from day one? When did you get
Yeah.
involved?
Well, Bob Benjamin was my manager at one point. And
Really, I didn't know that.
Okay, didn't know that.
so Bob, um, I guess when he turned 40, he found out he had Parkinson's, and Tony and Joe Durso and all the Jersey guys, I think they had a little get together somewhere. And the next year, Bob, being the determined individual that he is, decided he was going to, I guess, raise money for the cause, prevention or cure of Parkinson's. They did it to Pony, and Bruce and I had been working together. It's probably around the time that A Code of Silence and Another Thin Line were written, and I, as I remember it, I think I just called him up and said, "Hey, we're playing." And Bruce wasn't the E Street Band. I don't believe was reformed at that time, or maybe they were. I'm not sure. Anyway, so he came down and played the first show, and I do believe the first show was Joe Durso, Willie Nile, myself, maybe Bocce Galoop, Bocce and the Bad Boys. All local guys except for me. And I came in because of the connection to Bob, and then once Bruce became involved in it, his imprint made it much bigger. So we are always grateful that he was able to join us for those shows. And we've done a bunch of them. I don't know how many, Howie. 15, 16, I don't even know.
You've done much more than 15. We think they're up to
This
25.
this is the 25th year,
Yeah.
Well, this is the 26th year, actually.
26, okay.
26th year.
But I mean, Bruce's involvement. Bruce did about 15 of them.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, that's what we need
14,
Stan for.
15
Stan
now.
would be.
Stan, where are you? We need
Stan's the
you.
encyclopedia.
He was on earlier. He was checking in from the
Right.
hospital. So
Yeah,
Stan, if you're out there,
give us the answer. I don't want to screw this up, but I was when me and Joe were going back and forth, to get this thing together. Joe asked me about, how did we like, what we thought about, this year's Light of Day, and I mean I'm speaking for myself, but I definitely we had a nice conversation about it, and I was saying how this was my favorite, and it wasn't just the Bruce aspect because I've been there when Bruce has been there in the past. It just felt, and I think Joe, you said you agreed. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but the energy was different. This year I felt like the energy of the crowd was different this year, and again, not the Bruce side. I think it was more the fact that every year we're doing this, it becomes more, the world is stressed. We're living through crazy times, and just crazy world in general. And it was just a great way to breathe and have some respite, and great rock and roll. And all the performers, Johnny Resnick, William Zana, Joe Durso, yeah, everyone was, Willie Nile, everyone was great that night. Like, and we see them every year, Light of Day. But it felt very, very different this year for me, at least for me. I just felt like the vibe was very, very uplifting. If that's the right word, I could say it was very uplifting this year.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I thought it was you know once we moved the whole thing back to Asbury, it took on a second life. When we were out of Asbury for a while, it didn't seem quite the same. But every year it seems to have built. But this year, I agree with you. What makes Light of Day so special is the people who are involved in it. I mean, there's a lot of other festivals around the country, but it's basically friends.
Yeah.
That were made through the years, and the same people come back year after year and give it their all, and the audience is part of it. It seems like everybody knows just about everybody, the performers, the audience. You play at the Pony, and I literally know hundreds of people there. And everybody's glad to be there. And I agree with you. There was just something in the air this year. Like Woodstock, 3 days of peace and love.
I give you guys credit because you guys are going like nonstop. It's not, people. I mean, I'm sure they realize it, but just speaking with some of the guests that we've had on in the last couple of weeks, is like, no one really understands what it goes into a show in general, and you guys are doing it all weekend long. So you're going from one place to another place to another place, and that's a lot. It's a lot on, not just physically. It's a lot to do, and I applaud you guys. But there wasn't a person that we came out in the lobby. I remember that, and that's like always like the second half of Light of Day for us. You leave the show, you come out in the lobby, and everyone was just like flying that night. It was like they were on the moon, from what they just experienced it went too quick. That's for sure. It just like flew by us, and it was just a great feeling that we all walked out of there feeling like, we got a chance to just forget about life for that weekend, and it was just an uplifting, much needed, break from reality. I kind of guess that's the best way I
I
can say.
agree. Yeah, music's a very healing force when used the right way.
Yeah.
Always tell people I think it's the greatest art form. We were talking about literature and movies and stuff. I mean, I can't read the same book more than once or twice. Some movies I've seen, multiple times, but man, I can listen to some of the songs that I love over and over hundreds of times, and they still move me the same way.
No, that's a great, great, great way of putting it.
Bill, I can attest to that. Oh, sorry, Julie, go ahead. Sorry.
The musical experience, it's collective.
Yes.
You enjoy it. Your energy, you feed off somebody, they feed off of you. It's not the same thing as reading. It's not the same thing as watching a movie. There's nothing like it. Music is the answer.
I agree. And I always go by that old say. People say, "Well, who's the best band in the world?" And both Keith Richards and George Burns said this. They said the best band in the world on any particular evening is different. The best entertainer is different because it depends on the audience.
Mhm.
You know, so sometimes the audience takes the energy that is there and they cycle it back, and you start to levitate almost.
That's right.
So
There's nothing like it. And Asbury Park has such a great music scene.
oh,
You know,
It's
it's
best.
amazing.
it's the best. It is. It's I think it's the best music city in the country. You know.
Agreed. So agreed. And we say this all the time, me and Jules, like, because it's like our second home. But there's never, there's not another scene, and I know this for many, many years already. And I know I speak for many with this, is that after we see you guys play the Pony or any of the artists, what other artists in music scene, like, you hang out with the band after the bands are, after they just played a 3 hour set, they're coming out, they're greeting the fans, they're interacting. It's not it's not awkward. It's not like, okay, I'm done and I don't want to see it. It's such a great friendly feeling despite with the music, but it's just the artist that even guys like Williams Honor and Willie Nile and everybody, it's just to hang out with you guys and schmooze after you guys played. There's never been a time that I've seen you guys that you didn't come out and greet the fans after. And that I don't know, that's the thing that I repeat to all the people that come on to this show, is that because they're all in part of that music scene, and you don't know your music changes people's lives, but also the way you are engaging and greet your fans and make them feel special, that is life changing as well. And there's not, I don't know another music scene that does what Asbury Park, and I know you're from Pittsburgh, but we consider you Asbury grown. So
Adopted son.
yeah, you are the adopted son for sure. But and we want to, I gotta say that thank you for that, because I know when the first time I met you, and I was I met you at the Wonder Bar after a show, 10 years ago, whatever. And I remember coming out and said, forget it, even with the music, the fact that I just saw Joe Grushecky and everything, and he sat and he didn't blow me off. He said, it makes you come home with such a sense of like, wow, the music, they walk the walk. Whatever you're writing about, you're standing behind. You are that person. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Well, Asbury Park's is, it's a very special place to play. And it has I think it's, like I said, I think it's the best music city in the country right now, And,
I know.
and the Jersey Shore has always been full of great bands. I mean, I've been coming to the Jersey Shore since the 60s to watch bands. There's always great bands.
I know Julie's not going to like this analogy, but I'm going to say it. But it reminds me of like the Yankees. And I know you're not going to like it either because you're from Pittsburgh.
I appreciate greatness when I see it.
Right, and I think, but the thing is with the Yankees, they have a standard that they have to live by, right? They have to carry themselves in a certain way, and I feel like the Asbury Park music scene carries themselves that way as well. They carry themselves with not just with the music, they walk the walk.
Well, music's important there. You can tell it. And it's so gratifying to see how the town is revived.
Yeah.
'Cause I remember when Light of Day first started. I mean, it was a ghost town.
Hmm.
It really was. One Light of Day, Leanne and I flew down. It must have something to do with work, but we flew down and rented a car in Newark and drove to the Carteret. We stayed we ate in the Carteret. We were the only people in there.
Wow.
There was nobody else. We didn't see one other paying customer. All we saw was the waitress and the guy at the front desk. We went to the Pony, did the gig, come back, the place was empty. I mean, nobody there, and the streets were empty. And to see how it's revitalized is great. I hope it doesn't get any bigger, because but anyway.
Yeah.
There was one moment this past Light of Day that I was sitting up pretty close, and I could, when Johnny Resnick was playing, I could just look over his left shoulder, and you were just it just touched me as one musician watching another musician respectfully. The whole time Johnny was playing, you were just leaning on the rail back there and just watching, and you clapped every time the song was over, just like we were. And it was like, wow, here's a musician that's been around for all these years, fantastic musician, and you're just listening to him play his songs. It was very
I,
touching for to me.
that was a special performance by Johnny. I mean, that was off the charts good. You know, like I said, I appreciate greatness. He's certainly great, good guy too. And it was fun having him up for the Promised Land too. That was a thrill.
Yeah.
Johnny, my son, he was beside himself. You know, the Goo Goo Dolls, they're like the Beatles to Johnny and those guys. These guys.
Joe, you have one other song I have to mention, and then we'll wrap it up. We want to be respectful of your time. In 2017, you released "That's What Makes Us Great"
Yeah.
with Bruce. And if you don't mind, they come from everywhere, a longing to be free. They come to join us here from sea to shining sea. And they all have a dream, as people always will, to be safe and warm in that shining city on the hill. And importantly, I guess what impresses me about your music is, and like Bruce and many other artists, you write these stories that seem personable or personal to us, but they're universal to the universal human experience. It's up to me and you. Love can conquer hate. I know this to be true. That's what makes us great. Fantastic lyrics, fantastic song, and I think that's important to times that
Well,
we're living
like I
through.
said before, my family are coal miners, immigrant coal miners on both sides. Uh, my grandmother and grandfather on my mother's side were Serbian, and my grandmother and grandfather on my dad's side were Ukrainian. You know, both families were poor. My dad's family was dirt poor, and so they lived the American dream. My I always think of my grandfather came over here when he was 16, and when I looked at finally found his immigration records, there were peasants in Serbia, but he could read and write. And talking to one of my cousins, she told me that um, they were conquered by the Austrians, and the Austrians taught the peasants to read and write so they'd be better soldiers. I often think, my grandfather probably came over here to escape, being under the yoke of the Austrians. And anyways, what courage, 16 years old, come to a foreign country. I'm sure he didn't know any English at the time. And, worked in the coal mines. The coal mines were, the coal mine that he worked in, where I grew up, was called Biddle Mine. And I found some of the literature on it one time, and the list of people who were injured or killed in that mine is just mind-boggling. So I have a lot of empathy, for the guys that didn't have it so easy. Just from growing up in that atmosphere, and our family, everybody was always welcome. Nobody was turned away. And food and home, home food, shelter, and home was very, very important.
Well, Joe, it's been
On that
fantastic.
uplifting note.
Hey, I brought it up. I opened the door,
Right.
and that's the reality that us and all of our families, like, unless we're Native Americans, unless we, this is all of our history. So
Right.
we need to keep that in mind, all of us,
Well,
one
we
and
could
all.
we could close it this way. So like I was saying in the beginning before we came on, Joe has this, Joe and Bruce have this new thing that they do at the light of day, and I love it. Is they line up these shots, right? I don't know if you can, my thing is flying out, but it gets these little shot glasses, and they toast to life. And so I'm gonna do the same thing, so we can end on a good note. I want to toast to Joe and everyone at Light of Day and the House Rockers. And I want to thank you for all your support all these years, and for all the entertainment, and just for being the person that you are. Thank you for doing the show with us, and here only to good times and better times in the future for all
Amen.
of us, and rock and roll. And Joe, we love you. Yes,
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
See you,
Toast.
Joe.
I don't have anything in it,
Yeah.
but
Thanks for all of it.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Joe.
Joe.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us once again. And everyone have a great, great night.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everybody.
Thanks.
Have a good night.